I'm Zach.
And I'm Lindsay.
And this is the Game Forum, Extended Forum Podcast, episode 12. Today we're going to be talking about Sony pulling out of some conventions, a new game, Hardspace Shipbreaker, Sony files a patent, No Man's Sky, EA canceled another game, and something about Gundam. But before we get to that, what have you been playing?
All right, so this week I've been playing a lot of Crossout.
Of course.
Yeah, they have their Battle Pass going on, and now they've also added in the winter event on top of that. And I've been trying to do a review on Crossout.
Yeah.
So I've been playing a lot of that game. I played maybe an hour or two of Modern Warfare, and that's about all I've been doing this week. I've been pretty busy with other stuff this week.
Yeah, the review should be posted by the time this video's out, right?
Yes. I'm going to try and post this review Sunday.
Okay, cool. So I've talked to you about this, but do you remember Greedfall? I
Yes.
showed you the music for that.
Yeah.
So I finally started back playing that game, and I put a couple more hours in. That game is so cool. The whole politics side of that game. So there's you play as these, I don't know, they're like Londoners in this fictional world.
Yeah.
And so you go to this new island and you're trying to search for a cure for back home. It's like killing people. And so there are the native islanders that are there, and then there's already the people that have like colonized onto the island. It's very like Columbus and like the Native Americans and stuff. But so you're a diplomat. And so you're trying to like make everyone happy, so that way trades can be done and all this kind of stuff. And I went there, and there is like a group of natives that are causing a lot of trouble. They're destroying a lot of trade routes and like convoys and stuff that are only transporting goods. And so I'm like, okay, these people are obviously troublemakers. And so I go and I try to raise some hell, and then they're like okay, what's going on here? Turns out that they're like, oh well, they captured our villagers. Like they captured the coloners or whatever.
Yeah.
Captured women and children from their village, and so they're like super pissed. And so I'm like, oh no. And so I was like, okay, well let's see, because these people could be straight up lying. And so I go to the town where it was, they were claiming that they captured them, and I like not on the story of it, but I found the jail cell and found like all of the like women and children. And well, there wasn't children, but like
Not anymore.
Yeah, but it was just like, oh man. So that type of story, and this isn't like I've done 7 quests, and none of them are the main quest. I still have like the 2 main quests that are there that are like, oh yeah, go to all the villages, go to all the towns, spread your word about what you're trying to do, that kind of thing. And what's cool is that you can choose like not to do that. Like you get the option to like choose what religion you are, or you can choose to not have a religion, and that'll affect your like diplomacy and everything. It's really great, but there's a lot to it, a lot more than I was expecting. So I've been playing that a little more. I'm definitely going to keep playing it. I don't know when I'll finish it because it's supposed to be very long. But then I played like an hour of Final Fantasy VII just to try to get into it, the remaster.
Yeah.
That game is so old. But it has, what is it? It has, so on the right thumbstick, you can do a limit break where you can instantly get a limit break, which is like this very hard move and stuff. And then if you click both of them, it cancels combat. So you can like get through areas, and then you hit the left thumbstick, it'll like 3 times speed. So you can like potentially run through this game without combat like super quickly.
Yeah, that would not
really
be
cool.
good when you get to a boss fight, though.
That's the only thing. You cannot skip boss fights. That's the major thing. But the game it's easy. It's a lot easier than I was expecting. And so I've only played it for like an hour, so I've been having a little fun with it. But that's all I've really been playing. So I guess we'll get into the news. You want to start off with the Sony stuff? Well, no, you want to go.
You can start off with the Sony stuff.
So this all happened in the last week, a couple of days apart. Sony is pulling out of PAX East due to the coronavirus, and they're also pulling out of GDC. And I believe that's also for the coronavirus. So like they're worried about like spreading it and stuff. And I think Facebook also pulled out of GDC.
Yeah. Now I'd also seen another thing. It's not a gaming related thing.
Yeah.
But I think Sony, Apple, and LG all pulled out of a it was like a phone developers conference.
Yeah.
Due to the coronavirus as well.
God.
So there's a lot of people that are really scared about sending employees to get this, because you got to think, like, if you send a worker there and they get this and die, that's going to be a huge liability on your part.
Yeah, or if it like brings it back to the company.
Yeah, that'd be really bad.
So, I mean, I could understand why they're pulling out, but it's also like, you guys are releasing a console this year. Like,
well, you know, as what we said in the E3 video, I think a lot of these companies are focusing a lot more on their own stuff that they can do cheaper, instead of having to go into another convention, pay them to be there, pay to set up booths, and then lose the control in case something went wrong.
Yeah, that's true.
So I definitely think we're going to see more state of plays and special Sony-only conferences for their release information.
Yeah, I'm hoping so. What do you think they're gonna, like, when they're gonna announce? Or
I still thought they were going to do it in February.
That's what I thought too. I mean, I guess they still could, but no, they're not going to.
Yeah, I'm surprised they've waited this long. I think it's going to be really hard to keep all this a secret with as many people involved in it.
Yeah.
I think they'd better get a jump on it and put stuff out before something leaks and kind of steals their thunder.
Yeah, and it's rumored that they're going to start production in spring, so you would think that they would try to get something out before then. At least a state of play with, like, hey, here's what the console looks like, and they tease some games with a full reveal later in the year or something.
Because, okay, once it goes into production, now you've got a ton of people at subsidiary companies who have their hands on something.
Yeah.
And it'd be very tempting for one of those workers to take a picture or a screenshot of some game and what the console looks like. You know, I'm making the blah, blah, blah game disc at my factory. And here's a screenshot of it.
Yeah. Yeah, so they're definitely going to do that before the spring. But spring is anywhere from March to, May?
Something like that. So I definitely think they've got to do it soon. Like, I'd say March would be a high probability.
Yeah, because you got to think, like, April is Final Fantasy Remake, which is a year exclusive to PS4. And then the year after that, the month after that is The Last of Us Part 2.
Yeah.
And so they don't want to, like, step on their own feet. So I'd imagine they'd want to go ahead and get out in March, which I don't think there's no exclusives coming out that year or that month. So that would be the best time for them to do that. But I don't know. There's no one really at Sony or specifically PlayStation that was, like, there previously, except for, like, Mark Cerny, who was the system architect. But he's not going to have any say-so on, like, when the reveal is, or,
No, that's probably going to be more controlled by, like, the higher ups at, like, the actual Sony corporation in Japan.
Yeah, and it's just odd because, like, with the PS4 reveal, they didn't show the console, but they showed the controller, and they had Mark Cerny come out and talk about all the specs. But all the specs that they would, theoretically talk about for the PS5, they've already done with the Wired articles.
Yeah.
So they've
already put the specs out there. Yeah. I definitely think, like, there's going to be a console reveal soon.
It has to be, because they got to get it out there for people to start pre-ordering it.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, you want to, like, go ahead and get it pre-ordered, get it, a safe bet, and get it pre-ordered and stuff. But I don't know. And, like, Xbox is going to be at E3, and they're probably going to do the full reveal then. But they're going to have to also reveal, or at least tease it before then. But, I mean, maybe not, because they already showed it.
Now, what do you think the odds are? Xbox, did its reveal, and a lot of people did not like the design of the Xbox.
Yeah.
What if Sony has a very similar design, and they're like, "Oh crap, let's fix this real quick."
Or, well, yeah, I guess so. They could be holding back, but I don't know. I that doesn't sound like a Sony move. Sony seems like they're gonna want to play it safe, especially because of what the PS4 did,
and
how successful they were. Xbox, like, what's interesting about next gen is that I don't think it's going to be about how many systems are sold. It's how many active monthly users there are, and, like, how many subscriptions they have.
Yeah, that's probably true.
And that's probably going to be in Xbox's favor, unless Sony can, like, hone down on their services. Because it doesn't matter if Sony's got 70 million PS5s if they only have, like, 35 million users, and Xbox has 50 million, but they have 40 million users. and that's not even counting what they have on like the Switch or what they have on PC. And so like Sony, they have to really hone in on that hardcore audience, which they is rumored that's what they were going to focus on. But that's still like, it could completely backfire. Like, yeah, Sony's in more households, but, you know, Xbox as a service is in more.
Yeah, I mean, it's really just going to depend on, you know, how many people each service is going to be able to pick up and how many games each person's going to download on those services.
Yeah.
And I think the quality of the games is going to be a big determining factor for that, too.
Sony has that more than Xbox, but, I mean, that could always change.
Yes.
But,
no, I definitely agree. I mean, it could swap back and forth very easily.
Yeah. I imagine Xbox getting better games is easier than PlayStation getting better services.
I don't know. I'd say that there has to be, as long as the company's direction is focused on an issue, I think that'll be what determines whether or not it's fixed. And I just don't know if Xbox is really focused on a lot of games because, you know, they've already come out and said there's going to be no exclusives for the next Xbox when it comes out for at least a year or two. And that kind of says something about, you know, really focusing on games. They're not really focusing on the new Xbox at all, hardly.
Yeah, that is true. It's going to be so. I love how much more interesting this console launch is already compared to like the PS4, because up until, you know, from the PS3 going into the PS4, it was like, oh man, they're actually doing everything right, and then Xbox was like, they're doing everything wrong, and then but this year it's like,
I don't know on either of them.
Exactly. Like, it's very possible that they both nail it. And then it's like, well,
they both fail spectacularly, and the new Atari surprise console comes out and takes over.
I mean, you know, Atari does have those, hotels now? So, I mean, they got money somewhere. And they're putting it into hotels, not games. And what's this new game?
Okay, so I saw a trailer the other day. It looked pretty interesting to me. It's Hardspace Shipbreaker.
Yeah.
It's a game coming out on Steam sometime. They just had a PAX trailer drop. And it looks like you're kind of floating around. You're like an astronaut.
Yeah.
And it looks like they send you ships to like disassemble at a shipyard. I think the concept of this is kind of interesting. And it looks like how they're going to add action into it is some of the ships will probably be booby-trapped. There'll be like special things to find in each ship. And then it looks like it's off of a monetary resource fund. So you collect some of the special parts off the ship and trade it in to get money. But if you die, it ends up charging you every time you die. So it looks like you're trying to be profitable. So it's like you could die, but it's going to charge you. And it's like, oh, I need to get that reactor out, but if I do it wrong, it could explode and kill me.
Yeah. It's a video game made out of my favorite part of Red Faction Guerrilla.
Oh, yeah. No, I love Red Faction.
That bridge was the best thing that the game ever had. that hammer or sledgehammer and that bridge I went back and watched videos of it on YouTube of like people destroying that bridge. It looked terrible. Amazing, but watching those videos, it looks terrible.
Yeah.
And I know there was that remastered. You got that, right?
Yeah, I bought it.
Okay, did it look like pretty good? Because I was pretty sure I was watching original last
Okay,
year.
I mean, it looked better. Yeah. I still wouldn't say it looked great. I mainly bought it for the multiplayer mode in it. That's a lot of fun. I don't think I
ever played the multiplayer.
Oh my god, we're gonna have to try that. That was a lot of fun.
Is it? Yeah, is it like the demolition stuff?
Yeah. Like you could in the mode, essentially it's a versus thing, but it's turn based. And so it gives you a random weapon and like ability, and you have to cause as much damage and rack up as high of a collateral damage rating as you can in the time limit. So you're running around trying to knock over buildings, trying to hit, exploding gas cans and all that kind of stuff. And it tallies your number up, and then the next person gets to go from the same starting point with the same weapons, and they have to try and see if they can beat that score.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, I might have played that, but I just don't remember much of it. I feel like I have. But, I mean, yeah, Hardspace Shipbreaker, that looks cool. It sucks that it's only on Steam.
Yeah, hopefully we see this one come to PlayStation, and hopefully we see some more information about it. From a first trailer, though, I thought it looked pretty cool.
Yeah, no, it definitely did look pretty cool. So Sony recently did a patent, which I guess doesn't mean anything, because like Sony or anybody, they can patent whatever they want, and nothing could ever come from it.
Yeah.
But they did patent a updated PSVR controller, and it looks like the Oculus Touch controls. It's got like individual finger digits type thing.
Well, I definitely think that when PlayStation puts out the PlayStation VR 2, it's going to have new controllers.
Yeah, I think they'll bundle it too.
Oh, yes. I think the only reason they put out the PlayStation VR with the older PlayStation Move controllers is because they weren't so sure how popular VR was going to be.
Yeah.
And it was a safe way to hedge their bets cost-wise for something that might flop and cost the company a ton of money.
Yeah, because you got to think all the R&D and stuff went into just the VR unit.
Yeah.
And they made money off the stuff they already had.
Yeah, I mean, they literally didn't have to do R&D on the Move controllers at all. They didn't have to worry about trying to manufacture them. I'm sure they had all the stuff already to just start producing them again.
Yeah. I wonder if they made the VR unit just to sell. They're like, man, we got Sony Move controllers and cameras. Let's just make something to
I doubt that.
Yeah, no.
It was a new camera for the PlayStation 4 as well.
Yeah, they did, like, it was the cylinder-looking one.
Yes.
Yeah, so they did at least, like, update it a little bit.
But, I mean, they work pretty well for how old they were. I've been surprised with a lot of it.
I mean, yeah, a VR unit that is, well, I guess up until now was the, like, cheapest entry point into VR. And it was using a generation before's controller parts.
Yeah, I mean, they were like 6 years old when they came out on the VR.
Yeah.
And to play with it, you would think that that's just how it was developed.
Yeah, I mean, they worked pretty well. I mean, no, they worked really well, actually. And then, the aim controller they added, which is really just a move type controller.
Well, the aim controller worked incredibly well. Because it also had 2 joysticks on it.
Yeah.
I would kill for just some joysticks on one of the PSVR controllers.
Yeah. Or, to have, like, the Move controllers be individual hands and have, like, thumbsticks for, like, moving around and stuff.
Yeah, I'd be very excited to see what they do with this next generation.
Yeah, because there was a Bloomberg report or something that was talking about, like, oh, yeah, they have insider information that they are developing a PSVR 2, but it won't release until sometime after the PS5. So it's like, we know it's a thing. But it's just like, is it going to be wireless? Is it going to be affordable? Because with the Oculus Quest, that bundles in the controllers, it's $400.
Okay, here's another thing. Do you think we'll see 2 different variants of the PlayStation VR 2? Like maybe one that's cheaper and has a lower resolution screen and maybe a cord, and then maybe a more expensive wireless version with a higher resolution?
I don't know. I don't know how much, because that's going to split the audiences.
Well, I mean, they'd still be able to play the same games.
Yeah.
You're just going to have a higher fidelity wireless experience with one, but you'd still be able to have that experience with the other one.
I think they have a better... I think they're going to do PS5, the year after that PSVR 2, maybe 2 years after that PS5 Pro, and then a year after that maybe a PSVR 2 Pro or PSVR Pro.
Yeah, maybe.
And just have, like, it's just like these incremental upgrades, because... I feel like that's with both console makers doing a
half step every so many years,
and it was successful. I think now they're like, oh, okay, well, we can
let's do more of this.
Yeah, let's just, like, every 3 to 4 years, let's just release a newer version of the same thing, and then that's eventually going to turn into what our phones are now.
Yeah,
to where it's like a year, maybe two
I don't
for
consoles. I was about to say I don't want to buy a new console every year.
Yeah, but it's like, what if they do the same model as phones? If like, oh, it will just do a monthly fee and we'll add it to that, to where it's like, $75 a month, you get a new console and you get to upgrade it in the next year, and it comes with the services are already on it. Maybe they even include, like, hey, get the new Xbox for $60 a month and it comes with Game Pass.
Yeah,
and you just have it, and then you're paying it off, and then you upgrade it for free in the next year. Like
it could totally end up turning into that kind of thing.
And like, consoles have to be cheaper than phones, because aren't they they're charged more for phones, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, some of the new phones that come out, they're like $1,000, $1,200. Yeah. Was it the new Motorola Razr one's coming out? I want to say it's like $1,400 or $1,600.
Yeah. It's like a LED screen that
bendable
flips.
one.
Yeah. So you would imagine to make that, it would cost more than it costs to make it a console.
I would assume so. I haven't looked at some of the stuff. I know Apple has like an absurdly high upcharge Like I think Apple, like if they charge like $1,000, I think it only costs them maybe like $500 to make it. Like half of what you're paying for is their branding.
Well, if the PS5 is costing you $450 to make, they can charge $500 or $560. But if they do that program to where you like get a new console like every 2 years, just because it's like I guess video games are a little different than phones because people use phones every day. But I don't know. I don't know how that would work.
Also, I wonder how that would work if they were changing everything over that much. I don't think that'd really give a lot of developers time to really optimize for a console.
That is true. Which one are we developing for? Like, oh, that one. Crap. We have to reroute everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. That would I guess that wouldn't work. It would be consumer friendly because you can just get the next best, the next big thing. But you wouldn't be getting like the quality content that we get. Which there would have to be more like backhand communication. Like the execs at PlayStation would have to be like, hey, you're designing a game for the console that's coming out in 3 years. Just remember that. We don't know what the specs are, but it's going to be coming out in 3 years.
Yeah, that'd be a little tricky.
Yeah, and so what? No Man's Sky has an alien ship now?
Yes. So No Man's Sky also put out a new trailer the other day.
Yeah.
This game has really turned it around. They are continuously updating the game.
I think it's time for them to move on. I think they can. They've earned the respect back.
You know what? I don't think so. I'm like, I like game developers that just continuously improve a game and evolve with it. Apparently in this new one, all the ships beforehand were very Star Wars looking.
Yeah.
Metal pieces, rocket boosters, all that kind of stuff. Now it looks like they're adding in alien ships, so it's very organic looking, almost like a living creature that spreads its wings and takes off. Very cool look to it. And I think it's also added in a couple other new modes with this. I saw it was like you could. It was like some type of ship battle where you fight like a capital ship or something. That said. So it's added in some other newer modes in there as well as some new game features.
Yeah. Have you checked out the VR?
I have not yet. I really mean to. I'll probably end up checking it out and doing a review on it sometime in the next couple of months. I bought it when it first came out. My wife bought it for me when it first came out, I think for Christmas of that year. And all the reviews on it were terrible. And so I never ended up playing it. And over the years, like they've constantly added new stuff in, made improvements and all this stuff. And now I'm interested in playing it. I just got to find a time to slot it in and actually sit down and play it some.
Yeah. 21, 22-year-old me was very naive. And I might have pre-ordered that game and got it at launch. I think that other than Project Cars 2, that might have been the shortest return I've ever had. Because I think I had it for like 3 days. Project Cars 2, I think, might have been like 1 or 2 days. Because I'm like, this is a racing game made by Slightly Mad Studios, and they're known for making like hardcore racing games.
Yeah.
And so I was like, okay, cool. I'm going to enjoy this. It's going to be kind of like Gran Turismo. And then it was like, oh, hey, start off with a lawnmower. And then I'm like, okay.
Never mind.
Yeah, but then it's like, you get it. You have to like tune your car, or like in this case the lawnmower, before each race, and then there's multiple rounds, and it affects the performance. So you have to like okay, you did round 1. Now in round 2, you need to go and make sure that the fuel's good. You need to make sure the tire pressure, and you have to do that. It's mandatory.
Oh wow!
I'm like, screw this. Like I think it was $50, but I was like, dude, this isn't what I wanted. I wanted to like race and have fun, not like critique. Like you had to like do tune setups, and you had to save it and like. Like this, oh my god, it was disappointing. But you know what else is disappointing? When EA cancels the 3rd Star Wars game.
Oh no!
And so apparently they canceled it in spring of 2019. It was Project Viking, and it was leftover parts and assets from Amy Hennig's Project Ragtag, which it irks me that Jedi Fallen Order comes out, and it is a somewhat linear, story-based adventure game in the Star Wars franchise. Amy Hennig had her own game in the Star Wars franchise.
Yeah.
She created Uncharted. Like, she's the writer of Uncharted.
Did they cancel this before Fallen Order came out? Because Fallen Order came out later in the year, didn't it?
Yeah, so this came out before. So they probably like, okay, Fallen Order.
We've already got one story game in the works.
Yeah.
We don't need another one.
Yeah.
This one's probably going to not do good. And then they
Yeah.
canceled it. I bet you now they're like, well, darn it, maybe we shouldn't have canceled that.
Yeah, they do still have a potential sequel to Jedi Fallen Order, and then there's another unusual game from EA Motive. No one has any idea what that could be. It could be anything, especially with it being a Star Wars franchise. You know, the pod racers, that fighting game you were telling me about.
Yeah.
I mean, they could do a card game, which would be cool, like a.
I think something on consoles.
Yeah.
I would see is definitely either like a racer game, maybe like a fighting game. I think would be cool because they've had
Episode 1 pod racer. That's all you need.
Was it Darth Vader and Yoda have cameoed in some of the Soul Calibur games?
Yeah.
I mean, they keep kind of doing those kind of crossovers.
What if it's EA Motive is working with Disney on a Marvel versus Star Wars?
Huh.
Kind of like Marvel versus Capcom.
Yeah, that'd be interesting.
The thing with that is that Marvel didn't want any Capcom characters beating up their Marvel people on the trailer. And so that was like a big deal, so they couldn't do that. But if they have Marvel versus Star Wars, then that's their own property, so they can do whatever.
Yeah.
Iron Man versus Luke Skywalker.
That would make for some... Well, I mean, the Iron Man suit's definitely not lightsaber proof. That'd be a pretty quick fight.
Yeah. Well, the Flash versus Luke Skywalker.
The Flash is DC.
See, I don't know what I'm talking about. But you see that I don't know comic books.
You mean Quicksilver?
Yeah, that's what I meant. The X-Men, right?
Yes.
Okay, yeah. Well, I mean, either way, the Hulk versus Jabba the Hutt. I don't know, Boba Fett.
Okay, the Hulk versus Jabba the Hutt would be like the quickest fight in history.
Hawkeye versus Boba Fett.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, that would... See, I'm kind of like, oh man, this sounds cool, but it's probably a stupid card game, or
I don't know. I'd like to see what they end up doing with this. I would love to freaking see a new pod racer game. That would be awesome.
It could be a mobile match 3.
I mean, I loved, like the Wipeout VR game.
Yeah.
Like, give us like a new pod racer game in VR. Like, you sit in there, see the giant engines on either side, and start going. That'd be freaking cool.
Yeah, a pod racing game in VR, or maybe just what was that, Vader Immortal style game in VR?
There you go, Disney. That one you can take for free. Give us a VR pod racing game.
Yeah, a VR pod. I mean, just a pod racing game in general would be fine. It was on the Nintendo 64. I don't remember exactly what it was called, but I played.
I think it was Revenge Racer.
Yeah, I think it had a yellow box art. I think I played the hell out of that. I wasn't any good at it, but I played it and I liked it a lot.
But I played one of the ones at one of the local arcades that was fun, and I never had an N64, but one of my friends did, and I got to play that one a bit too. That was a fun game.
Yeah, I remember that a good bit. We had a Nintendo 64, but I think I played GoldenEye, some Rugrats game, a South Park game, and that pod racing game. That was all I played on that system. I was more of the PS1 and PC player.
Yeah, no, I had a PlayStation 1.
So, Gundam.
Okay. So as y'all may or may not know, I've been slightly addicted to this mobile Gundam game.
What?
It's one of the first mobile games I've ever really gotten into.
Yeah.
It's a Gundam Battle, Gunpla Warfare, and for anybody who's played any of the Gundam games before, it is effectively just a mobile version of Gundam Breaker, which has been like one of my favorite console games in a while.
Yeah.
So essentially you get to like pick the parts off all the different mobile suits, put them together, and make it like your own thing. So they just had like a big live stream the other day, and they're adding in a lot of new stuff. So they're adding in an augmented reality mode to the game, kind of like Pokemon Go.
Yeah.
You don't like catch Gundams or anything, but you can like build a Gundam and then put it in a scene, like with, I guess, supposed to be your other model kits and stuff. You can put them anywhere. Like, they showed, like, one scene of, like, Wing Zero, like, walking a dog and holding, like, a bag because they, like, superimposed it over a person. They showed another scene of, like, putting the original Gundam, making it look like it was like trying to throw a basketball in a hoop, because it was just like they took a picture of a basketball hoop and then put the model in that pose in it.
Oh, wow.
So I'm like, you can do some kind of cool stuff with that. I think that was kind of neat. They're adding in a big custom paint mode. Like, you've been pretty limited in how you could paint the mobile suits beforehand. You could pretty much, once you fully assemble all the parts of a mobile suit, you then get its paint scheme you can use on other mobile suits. So unless you find one that's exactly the way you want it, you can't really fully customize it the way you want it. So this will be great. The new thing that they've added in, I think, is going to be probably one of the biggest changes to the game, is the mark system. So with this, every day they have like different mobile suit competition things where you design one and you get a certain number of points. And then you can use those points to exchange for marks, and you can use those marks to upgrade like base level parts to be as good as like max level parts.
Oh, wow.
So essentially the way the parts work in the game is, if you get a 1-star part, even if you max upgrade it right now, it's still going to be trash. It's not going to have very high stats. Even though it might have really good abilities, they're not going to scale to what you need for arena fights. If you get a max level part and you max it out, like, its stats are going to be like way higher than a base level one, because they have like level 1, 2, 3, and 4 level parts. What this is essentially doing is letting you take a level 1 part and tuning it up to be the equivalent of like a natural like 4-star part. So then once you upgrade it, its stats will be on par with one of like the really good parts you can get in the game, which is really cool. So now if you really liked like the basic Zaku and you like some of its abilities, you could upgrade it with this and be able to fight against some of the high tier max level parts without having to be held back so much.
Yeah.
And because they're having a lot of stuff where you will need to change out parts and build certain builds for certain events, they're adding in a new loadout system where you can essentially create a Gundam and save that loadout and rebuild it at any time. So let's say you need to use some parts off of that one to do a different build for an event. You can save it, do the build you need for the event to get the marks, and then just rebuild it back. And I'm like, okay, that works. So a lot of quality of life upgrades, a lot of big upgrades for how the game works, and overall, I mean, it's been fun. They've still been adding in new levels every week. They've been adding in 2 to 3 new mobile suits, new game modes. They've got raids going on. They've got multiplayer arena missions now where you can go into a event with 3 other players and take on like waves of enemies and bigger bosses now. So I mean, for a mobile game, I mean,
Seems they're doing it right.
Yeah, I'm like, it's pretty much just Gundam Breaker from like the consoles on a mobile game now.
Yeah.
So I think that's a little crazy.
Yeah.
I would much rather have this game on a console, but I didn't really get into the new Gundam Breaker game near as much as this one.
Huh. All right, well, I guess that's it, right?
I think so.
Yeah. So thanks for listening to the Extended Forums Weekly News Podcast. I'm Zach.
And I'm Lindsay.
And we're the Game Forum.